Welcome to this episode of the Tack podcast. My name is Kevin Nelson, and I'm your host. In this episode, I had the opportunity to have a conversation with Mr. Brandon Eckenrode, who is the managing director of the Collision Repair Education Foundation, CREF, and really just an overview of what CREF is, how they support our industry, all of the ways in which, I did not understand all of what they do for the industry, but it's wonderful. And there's an opportunity at the end if you would like to support them financially before the end of the year. There's an opportunity that Brandon lays out for you. But I hope you enjoy this conversation. Well, welcome everybody to the Tack podcast. I'm happy to have on here with me this afternoon Mr. Brandon Eckenrode, who is the managing director of the Collision Education Repair Foundation. Did I say all that right?
Close. Collision Repair Education Foundation.
CREF. That's right. What did I put education and repair before? All right. So CREF. So Brandon, let's start this conversation as if nobody knows what CREF is. Tell us what is the Collision Repair Education Foundation?
Sure. And thank you, Kevin, for having me on. So the Collision Repair Education Foundation is a national 501c3 charity within the collision industry. And we are trying to tackle, with the help and support of our industry partners like National Coatings, Single Source, the issue that we know everyone's facing when it comes to a need for entry-level staff. This industry, like the other technical trades, is facing that aging workforce. So what we specifically do is work to help support the high school and college collision repair, auto body repair school programs, students, and instructors nationwide. So this is everything from a high school shop class to a technical college to a community college. We're going out on behalf of the industry and trying to attract students to these schools and to the industry, support the schools that need this industry support now more than ever because they're facing limited program budgets, yet the expectations on them are to graduate properly trained entry-level staff ready for employment. And then last but not least, connecting these students with the industry partners and employers around the country and showcasing that there are many different types of companies that need people. While the biggest need, I think it's fair to say, is the repair technicians at the body shops, the collision facilities. But what we also like to do is showcase that there's a place for them, even if they might not be into the physically repairing the cars, there's a place for them in many different industry segments. And we're able to do that through our industry partners nationwide.
All right. Now, I'm going back to something that you said earlier and that is you're trying to attract students into this. And how do you do that? With, for example, here in Wake County, we have Wake Tech, and they've just opened up a huge new beautiful facility. But how would you come into a market and try to help us support that college in attracting students?
So there's several different kind of initiatives that we have. Some of them are making these programs look attractive so that if there are prospective students coming by and looking at the many different technical programs, through our industry partners, we help make these programs look like professional learning environments so that they have an attractive front-facing kind of image so that they're not that dark, dingy body shop that many perceive, and or some of these schools might have that image, not only to no fault of the instructor, but we're able to come in and, whether it's, making the programs look professional with brand new painted walls, brand new epoxied floors, brand new uniforms for the students. There's things that we can do to, again, make these programs look professional and attractive for students to consider. There's things like we like to call it influencing the influencers. So those that might have an impact on these students' decision whether to go the traditional four-year college route or the technical route. We've got projects and initiatives in terms of getting in front of the school counselors, which we've always heard is that they're the gatekeepers of, you're a bad kid. You used to go down to shop class and get out of my hair because you don't have any four-year college potential. So actually earlier this year, we were one of the top sponsors at the American School Counselor Association Conference. So this event down in July in Austin, Texas, gathered over 4,000 school counselors from around the country. And we were there to help kind of represent the industry talk about the different career paths that are available, the earning potential that we all know is possible. But we're starting to get in front of those school counselors who are telling us, we get it. We need to start embracing the technical fields more and understanding that it is an accepted path for students to consider. And then we also, last but not least, there's some projects and fundraisers that we've got going on that will hopefully put us out in front of the general public. So we announced this project back in 2021 at SEMA, but it's called Operative Talent, and it's a fundraiser that involves the rebuilding of a 69 Camaro that's going to be done by KTL Restorations out on the East Coast. But the raffle slash fundraiser for this car rebuild will actually fund a kind of a national outreach to the general public to showcase this industry. So whether it's commercials about the industry on streaming channels, public service announcements on TV, radio, things like that. So I would encourage anyone that might like to help create or support that fundraiser. If you go to operativetalent.com, you can purchase raffle tickets, you can make a general donation, but the more money we raise with that fundraiser, Kevin, the bigger of a public outreach we can do on behalf of the industry. And again, because we're that neutral 501c3 body, we can be that entity that helps get the word out with no for-profit intentions. It's just a matter of showcasing the industry so that parents and others who might be, guiding their students or others, they can see that this is a viable career path for them in the future.
That's awesome. So that's operativetalent.com.
Yep.
Operativetalent.com. That'll be very cool. I'll absolutely go register for that and go invest in that program. Now, Brandon, where you're part of the industry, but where does the funding for CREF come from?
So we've been very fortunate, Kevin, that since 2009, when we kind of began this philanthropic focus, we have been able to raise over $500+ million worth of donations, which includes both monetary and in kind. But that is coming from the many different industry segments of the industry. So that is everything from suppliers, body shops, tool companies, paint companies, vehicle manufacturers, dealerships, insurance companies. They're all, giving to us, and then we are giving and distributing those monetary donations, which help provide student scholarships, school grants. But the in-kind donations, which by far are the most amount of support that we get, it's everything from tools, equipment, supplies, consumable, things that these instructors need to run their programs to provide that quality technical education, but don't always have the budgets for. So we all know that we're kind of in this critical issue of needing students and entry-level staff to come into the industry. So there has never been a more critical time for industry members to be supporting us so that we can support those schools that are in need. And again, because of they're facing those limited program budgets, this support sometimes is key to keeping these programs around. So we don't want to see these programs, have to close. And we've heard of good instances where, new programs are being opened up, which is obviously always great to hear. So it's through the many different members of the industry that are making that support possible, which we're obviously always so grateful for.
Now, you said like in kind, and like, as you said, that's the dry goods, the paint, the tools, the equipment, that kind of stuff. But really, it's the cash donations that really support the schools, as far as you said, give them the paint to be able to paint the walls, epoxy the floors. What's the mix of that 500 million that you've raised thus far? How much of it is in cash that can really be used where it's needed?
So we're about getting back to pre-pandemic levels of support, which we typically raise roughly about $2 million in cash donations. And that's coming in from direct donations. Sometimes local, maybe state industry associations will hold fundraisers, and those funds come to us. But it's roughly about $2 million monetary donations that we receive each year. That is again going out to help high school or college collision repair or auto body repair. Sometimes they call it different things. Instructors, students, and the programs themselves.
Awesome. Now, before we started our conversation, or recording our conversation, were talking about your budget had been approved. Tell me about, how is CREF set up? Like, I know all 501c3s have a board that has to review and approve everything. Who are those folks that are on your board, and what process do you go through to get your budget set and approved?
Sure. So we have just over 20 different board members, and it's a volunteer board, but the board is made up of the different segments of the industry. So we have, body shop representation, and tool, paint, equipment representation, insurance companies. So they have obviously a normal structure, like you said, of a nonprofit board. But each year around this time, we get our, following year budget approved, but they're also helping to provide guidance and feedback and also connect us with other industry partners, which is key in terms of opening up the doors. While we are incredibly thankful for the partners that we have, there's many within the industry that are not currently involved with us. And that's another thing that the board helps us with is through some of their maybe, their business context and things like that, helps get them introduced to talk about craft, ways that they can support us. And then there might also be opportunities where they're helping to get the word out, similar to this conversation, Kevin. It's that form of support can come in many different ways. So just helping to get the word out to say, this is what craft is doing. We're trying to help your local schools. So we're able to help sometimes connect people with their local schools so that there's that engagement happening at the local level. But obviously our board is helpful in kind of many different ways.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. So obviously we're here rolling into year end, and there's opportunities that some folks may be looking at it going, hey, I need to make a contribution to an organization. If someone wanted to make a contribution, if Kevin Nelson wants to make a contribution to CREF, if a collision center says, oh yeah, I meant to do that, but I haven't, how do we go about making a contribution to CREF?
Sure. Thank you for asking, Kevin. As many might be considering a year-end charitable tax-deductible gift, I know there's many other great, credible organizations out there, but if you'd like to help kind of support the future of the industry, that can be done by visiting collisioneducationfoundation.org. And again, donations are tax deductible because we're a 501c3. And Kevin, what's important to note, as a 501c3, we return 90 cents of every dollar that's donated goes back to the schools. So we're very lean in our operations. There's not a lot of overhead. And I know that's important for many people to know that the money that they're giving is going towards a great cause and where it should be going. So we're proud of that kind of fact. And we have been a charity navigator 4 out of 4-star charity for nearly 10 years. And if you're not familiar with Charity Navigator, they evaluate and rate all the charities across the country. And I think roughly about 5 to 10% of the charities in the country have that 4-star rating. So we're proud of making sure that we can display that the money's going to where it should. But again, it's collisioneducationfoundation.org, and someone can make a year-end tax-deductible donation online.
And you'll take any amount?
We will be happy with any amounts, big or small. We appreciate the support. So yes.
collisioneducationfoundation.org, and any amount is welcome. Well, Brandon, I thank you so much for taking a few minutes to be here on the podcast with us. As I told you, we will do everything in our power to get this message out to the industry and get it out before the end of this year, so that anybody that might want to make a contribution, we can get it out there to them. But have a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday.
Same to you, Kevin, and thank you so much for NCS and Single Source's continued support.
Our pleasure.